So far, we've looked only at truth tables with two propositions, but it's completely possible to add additional propositions to our truth table. So we're going to go up to 3 proposition truth tables. So in this example, I'll use P, Q, and R. So when we have 3 propositions, we often use P, Q, and R. So I'll stick to the same idea. It is raining. Is my P. I am wet. And let's say I am sick, maybe. All right. So again, the sentences, they're just examples. It could be any sentences. But our P, Q, and R, we're going to stick to those for all of our examples. So P, Q, and R are our 3 basic propositions, and we can combine them in different ways. So for example, just like before, they can all be true. They can all be false. 1 could be true and 2 false. 2 could be true and 1 false. So there are several different ways that we can do this. Now, the best way to remember how to label our truth table is if we go down. There are 4 scenarios that are true and 4 scenarios that are false for each one. So we can label true, 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 false, 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 false for our P. Then we can do something similar for Q, but switch it up a bit. 2 trues, 2 falses. 2 trues and 2 falses. And finally, we can switch back and forth between true and false for our R. True, false, true, false. So now if you take a look at these 3 columns, it should include every combination of whether or not these 3 propositions are true or false. So the first one, they're all true, and the last one, they're all false, and everyone in between is different, and there are 8 possibilities. So now we can do the same thing we were doing before when we combined these propositions with different symbols, but now we have 3 propositions, so we have so many more options. So I can do what we did before. I'll do that first, do P and Q, but then mix it up a bit. Okay, so P and Q, remember when we were doing P and Q, for and, they both had to be true. So we have to look at column P and column Q. And for them to be true, for P and Q to be true, both must be true. It should both be raining and I should be wet. P and Q. So the first one, for that reason, is true because they're both true. True because they're both true. But in this case, we have a false here. They're not both true. So that one is false. Both must be true, but we have a true and a false, so that's false. And the rest are false because they're not both true. So we need both P and Q to be true in each scenario for it to be true. So the only ones that are true are the first 2. Now, as you can see, nothing really changed except for the fact that we're no longer looking at the pattern, but we actually have to understand what the symbol does and what it means. So let's do not R. So if we're looking at what not R would be as an example, it would be everything that is the opposite of R. So if I am sick, if R, which is I am sick, is true, then I am not sick must be false. So it's the opposite of R. So it goes false, true, false, true, false, true, false, true. So when you look at these 2 columns, R and not R, everything, each row in those 2 columns must be opposite to each other. All right, let's do another example. Let's join the 2 things that we just did with or, but not both. So we have here P and Q, which we did. So we can put it in parentheses, or but not both, not R. So P and Q, not R. So we are focusing on P and Q. We are focusing on P and Q, and we're focusing on not R. And for or but not both, at least one, actually not at least one, but one, exactly one should be true. Or but not both. So one should be true and one should be false in order for our statement here to be true. So because that's true and that's false, then that's true, because we want one true, one false. They're both true, so it's false. They're both false, so it's false. But here, since we have one true and one false, it's true. They're both false, so we have a false. But here, a true and a false will give us a true. Two falses give us a false, because we want one true, one false. But that one is true. Alright, so we could go through and we could keep doing examples like this, but the whole point is it doesn't make a difference if it's two propositions or three propositions when you're filling out the truth table. It just gives you more rows, but the rules are still the same.